This is the person that people look at to try to help them with multiple psychological issues. This is the person that a lot of people in incel culture look up to. Why? Alrighty, we have not covered Jordan Peterson in a while, but he posted something to his social media, and I don't know, as an atheist on the internet, I feel as though when you post a big thing that basically says the Bible is true with a whole bunch of qualifiers, that tends to be within the wheelhouse that I want to talk about. So that's what we're going to do. But before that, as always, let's get into the fan art section. First one we have here is from Mr. Stoffles. Said I was doing Homestuck style talk sprites as a half joke for my friend, and after finishing them, I had the urge to do sprites. So I decided to do a Suris one. Mr. Stoffles, thank you very much for the fan art. Also, Mr. Stoffles is, if memory serves, the person behind the original concept art of the Witch Suris model. So there is that. The next one we have here is from Axo, that has cream. Mark's slime Suris, waiting for the right time to strike on all the people who use 50,001 channel points. So let me go ahead and zoom this out enough so you can actually see it, because I am bad at my job. There we go. The last one we have here is from Sora the Villain. I got bored, and it's not up to my normal standard. Well, whether it's up to your normal standard or not, it is still good fan art and also greatly appreciated. As always, everybody, thank you all for your fan art submissions. If you want your fan art to be shown in a future episode, the best way to do so is to drop it into the fan art section of the Discord. With that said, let's go ahead and get right into it. Post goes, in the West, the Bible is the precondition for truth. From his speech called "You Probably Should Have Read the Bible." Let's take a listen.
The Bible is true in a very strange way. It's true in that it provides the basis for truth itself.
All right, so what he is saying, if I am to steelman aggressively, is technically not false. It is technically, if I am being super liberal with definitions, it is technically not false. Because in the Bible, the most important character literally says, I am the way, the truth, and the life. If you believe the Bible is true, then there's a character in there that goes, I am the way, the truth, and the life. Technically, that is true. There is a person in there who believes, or at the very least says, that he is truth, and that he is the Word, and therefore the Bible is also truth. That only exists, though, if you are accepting biblical canon as actual reality. Now we have to get into the difference between what is true within the Bible and what is true via ontology. Like, what is ontologically true? When you say a statement like, the Bible is true, there's a lot of qualifiers you have to have. The first one is to skip this fucking song. Secondly, the first qualifier is, okay, true in what sense? According to Jordan Peterson, right now, true in the sense that it is the precondition for truth. But I don't think that that's a good way of defining truth. In fact, my definition of truth is that which comports with reality. Ontology is all that exists within our closed space, and truth is that which aligns itself with ontology. It can be ontologically true that I feel hungry. Therefore, the statement, I feel hungry, is a true statement. It can be ontologically true that the Twin Towers don't exist. Therefore, the statement, the Twin Towers are gone, that is a true statement. As they existed at one point in time, they are gone. They ceased existing. There are subjective statements, things like, I think this is right. And it's harder to determine the truth on that because, well, again, if ontology is our basis of truth as opposed to the Bible, then it's harder to go, yes, that statement is true, or no, that statement's false. This creates what Jordan Peterson is using here is what we call a circular argument. Sienna's just glued into that. the Bible is true because within the Bible's canon it says it's true, therefore the Bible is true. How do we know that? Well, because the Bible is true. Well, how do we know that? Because the Bible says it's true. Well, how do we know that? Because you see where I'm going. Now, if Jordan Peterson is to take the ad populum fallacy and say that because here, geographically, in the West, more people believe the Bible than not, then sure, he can say that, yeah, the Bible's the precondition for truth for people, but that doesn't make it true. For you to say, the Bible is a precondition for me to believe something that is true, neat. Subjectively to you, for your epistemology, that could be the case, but that does not mean that it coincides with ontology. It does not mean that something is actually true. But let's continue.
And so it's like a meta-truth. Without it, there couldn't even be the possibility of truth. And so maybe that's the most true thing. The most true thing isn't some truth per se, it's that which provides the precondition for all judgments of truth.
So, again, this is accepting the Bible as a circular device. It is true because it says it's true, because it has a character that says that he's the way, the truth, and the life. How do we know that's true? Well, because it said it's true. We just continue going on and on and on and on in circles. That does not make something true. That makes people think it's true. That makes people's epistemologies use it as a foundation for their variant of truth. But that doesn't make it true.
I can't see any holes in that argument.
We just pointed out a lot of them. One of them is that if your argument is circular, then it probably already has a giant hole in that it's fucking circular.
And I can't see any holes in it from a scientific perspective either, because...
Wait, hold on. Before you continue with that, Jordan, I have a question. You can't see any holes in the argument of the Bible being true from a scientific perspective? Jordan, I have a question. Did the flood, as it's described in the Bible, actually happen? Just that. Did that event occur in the way it is described? Global, all-encompassing, genociding every living being except the genetic Alabama bottlenecks that are left on the ark itself. And what you'll find is the answer to that is no. There was not a global flood. The flood as described in the Bible did not happen, and that is something that we can determine scientifically. Now, there is another side of this as well that has to be talked about, and that is that, sure, somebody could come in and say, well, the Bible says the Earth is 6,400 years old, the Earth is older than that, so therefore science disproves the Bible. That doesn't work, because the young Earth hypothesis, that's posited by a small, well, not really small anymore, but that's posited by a certain subsect of Christians based on genealogies in the Bible. That's not a judgment made in the Bible itself. The Bible also, at least in Job, accepts that the earth is flat. That's another reason why the Bible would not be scientifically true. From a scientific perspective, the Bible does not work, because many events that are described in the Bible, from a scientific perspective, cannot be replicated, and therefore likely did not happen. Gengar says, from his lectures, stories are the basis of human knowledge. He's good at word salads, but he thinks stories are true in a psychological sense. That is a terrible way. That is a terrible way to conceive of truth. Anybody can write a story, and anybody can write the story to have whatever ideology as the hero or the villain. Using stories as the basis of truth is basically like telling kids that every single moral they ever have should be based off of Aesop's fables, and then moving that into adulthood as well. Do you not remember the story of blah, blah, blah? Which is a thing that actually does happen in the Bible, to be fair. Like, our God apparently made the sun stand still / real slow through the sky. Yeah, that thing that would literally cause a hole in the ozone if it happened. Yep. Or the fact that the sun is largely still. It's the Earth that's moving it around, so he stopped the Earth's orbit. So I guess now we're going to have asteroids crashing into us. Oof. Scientifically accurate? Bullshit.
Because I think we do know well enough now as scientists that the problem of deriving ethical direction from the collection of facts is an intractable problem. There's too many facts. There's an infinite number of facts.
There's an infinite number of stories. You can't derive truth from stories because there is an infinite number of stories. You see how this argument works both ways, Jordan? Doesn't matter. I also forgot to put up the visual for that because I'm very bad at my job. It does not matter that there's an infinite number of facts. If truth is that which comports with reality, then looking for a larger version of truth does not matter. So I don't think he takes it literally. I live as though he is real, Jordan from Matt's debate. If you live as though he's real, then you're literally just doing you're just doing Pascal's wager without calling it Pascal's wager, which again, that's not good logic. This is the person that people look at to try to help them with multiple psychological issues. This is the person that a lot of people in incel culture look up to. Why? Because they think there's some meaning in his word salad besides the actual salad with no dressing, and it's just iceberg lettuce. But let's go ahead and continue.
They do not provide an unerring guide for action. They can't. There's too many of them. They have to be prioritized. And as soon as they are prioritized, well, then you're in the ethical domain.
Okay. So remember that this is I'm not taking this clip out of context because this clip was provided by Jordan Peterson. This is a clip that he provided himself in its entirety. He figured that this was a good enough point on its own. And here's the thing. He's not wrong, because if you are somebody who's already primed to believe anybody who says something positive about the Bible, then what he's saying, you're going to latch onto. Phantom Realm, thank you for redeeming your points for you fucking monster. If you are primed to believe the things he's saying, then you are already likely to take them whole cloth. If you are a Jordan Peterson fan and you lap up the things he says, and you hide behind that age-old argument, you haven't read all of his books, you haven't listened to every lecture he's ever had, you haven't watched all of his interviews, you don't understand, then you are likely primed for this just as well. But if you're not in those categories, and you look at this isolated, as provided by Jordan Peterson, it doesn't make a lot of sense. I don't think it's supposed to. We aren't the audience. We aren't the people Jordan is trying to fleece for money. But there are people who are convinced by this, and they are the ones that he is trying to fleece for that kind of cash. Arguments that say the Bible is true from a myriad of philosophical perspectives, I don't find any worth in making them unless you think there's an audience that are primed to accept that are primed to make some action on that, like paying you hundreds of dollars for a Skype interview. Jordan Peterson, the whinging loser, anarcho-capitalist? Yes. I think it's better to have your definition of truth be cogent with reality and not set on a precondition that was written by people. Because guess what? If there are too many facts to make ethical decisions based off of raw philosophy alone, then there's too many stories to base it off that either. Because stories are facts in the same way as everything else. They exist, therefore they are, in some way, shape, or form, a fact. This statement ends up boiling down to the fact that Jordan Peterson believes that the priority of facts should be stories over things that are actually scientifically repeatable. I don't think that holds water. Gengar says, I've watched plenty of his stuff. I'm glad it isn't just me. He's just accurate enough to mislead, but I'm not convinced he's doing it maliciously. Do you think he buys what he sells? I think he does. I think there's a combination of doing this to prime an audience, and I think there's a bit of it where he does buy it too. There's only so many... It goes back to Pascal's wager. There's only so many times you can repeat a statement or an action before you start to believe it on some level. The entire point of Pascal's wager was never to trick God. The entire point of Pascal's wager was to create a habit that if repeated enough, one would genuinely believe. I don't know what percentage of things Jordan says that he actually believes. I have no way of verifying it. But I do think there is merit in operating as if it is both. He believes what he says, but he also knows there's an audience that he's curating with it. Both of them. But with that said, I want to know what you guys think in the comments section below. Jordan Peterson is quite the individual when it comes to trying to talk about his philosophy, the things he believes, the things he peddles, the ways he locks himself into a coma because he's not able to deal with drug withdrawal problems on his own. There's a lot that goes into any conversation about Jordan, notwithstanding his all red meat diet. That one was weird. So let me know what you think in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you haven't already, subscribe if you haven't already, and as always, everybody, insert end of video tagline here.